guys. The previous call that here ended a little bit early, so people had to move their cars, use the restroom, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to reconvene in about 5 to 7 minutes. All right.
Sounds good.
Let's see.
Yeah, don't move back right now. That'd be right.
Thank you. Thank you. How are we doing, guys?
Good.
Good. Are we ready? Is everyone back? Oh, Richard's not back. Maybe we should wait a couple more minutes. While we wait, does anyone have any questions they want to ask? Before we get
I
started?
just want to say you're amazing.
Oh.
I adore you.
I adore you too. What have you been up to? I haven't seen you around.
Just getting frustrated, writing offers once in a while. Nothing ever comes out of it. We just gave an offer on something with 44 offers on the table, and it was a house for $1,999 they were asking. We gave an offer of $2,350. It's an escrow for 2.6 and above, which is ridiculous.
I think I heard from someone else in the office that wrote on that same property the same thing.
Oh my God.
Taste, huh? We should.
I don't know. I don't know when it's going to start calming down, and the interest rates have steadily been going up, but no luck.
Yeah, I mean, they're still pretty low historically. We should talk later about that lead, the daughter.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I actually wrote to them. I did hear back. But she sent me a picture of her because it was her birthday and whatever. But that was it. Pretty much. It was just more like a simple, but she did respond very kindly.
Responded.
Yes.
So, yeah. All right.
Okay.
Let's talk about that later.
Okay. I'll mute myself. Thank you.
Oh, you can chat away. Do we have John Farron on today? John, are you here?
I saw him on the last video.
Oh, you did.
Christine, how are you?
Hi, John. Good. So I just want to remind you specifically, John, to make sure that
go ahead. Oh. Make sure that what?
Make sure that you mute yourself, because every single class you interrupt us a couple of times with what's going on at home.
I shut up myself.
No, it's okay. Just thought, since we had some time to kill, we could discuss it before so that, it didn't happen again. What else is going on, guys? Nothing. You guys are like the most boring people on earth. Do anything fun over the weekend?
My brother just had a baby.
That's exciting. Name?
We don't know yet.
Oh.
He was born today.
Well, congratulations on your new nephew.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, I'm gonna get started. So today we're going to talk about listing presentation. We're going to talk about the pieces that go into a listing presentation, why they're important, and what considerations you should have. Everyone's listing presentation is going to be different. I myself, I work from the KW template that's in KW Command in the Design Center, but there's information in there that, the people who write this material for us, they're not necessarily Southern California agents, so sometimes the terminology is a tiny bit off. Sometimes I don't like pages at all, or I think it's redundant, so I get rid of a lot of it, but I do use the templates. So I'm going to teach you, from the platform of what do you need to think about for each listing presentation. Of course, you'd have your template, your finalized, personalized template of listing presentation, but you also may want to oftentimes modify that for the type of listing you're going on. And we'll talk about the specific pieces that you would modify the most. Okay. So with that being said, before you can really get started with a listing presentation, you're gonna need some key pieces, such as a headshot. And we're talking a professional headshot. We are not talking about your favorite sexy photo in the bathroom mirror. Selfies don't really cut it. It's worth the investment. This is, the face that's going to go out into the world and present you, right? Represent you. And hopefully for not longer than about 5 years, guys. I'm nearing 5 years on my headshot. It needs to be redone. We all make those jokes about the agents with their photos from 20 years ago on them. You want to be recognized, right? You need your name and your face to be recognized. So those are important things. I also, yes?
Somebody professional to help with that?
Yeah, there are photographers who just do headshots. Marketing knows quite a few of them. You can get recommendations from marketing. I love my guy, but he's super expensive. I literally cry sometimes when I take photos because I hate it so much. So for me, he takes my mind off it and it's worth it. But unless you cry during photos, I wouldn't spend $500 on headshots.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. Oh, thank you, honey. What else? Professionally written bio, or at least edited. All right, so I have an English degree, but even my punctuation, grammar, syntax, it's not perfect, right? And I'm talking about myself. That is very uncomfortable and kind of weird to do. And you're speaking about yourself generally, the way a bio is written is in third person. Very unnatural. There are a lot of professional, someone's trying to get into class. I don't know what to tell you. Are you sure that you are on the right class? Question mark. Are you on kwbhvirtual.com? Question mark. I'm actually in the middle of teaching class right now, so I can't talk anymore. So professionally written bio. I had the good fortune of working for a really high-end team when I had mine written. So they hired a well-known professional writer through an agency that no longer exists. And they did like a phone interview with me. I have since, like with my team bio and for my team agents, we've tried different bio writers on Fiverr. And when we did that, sometimes we had a good piece to work with, like a base. It's really cheap that way as well. But sometimes they were terrible. And I felt like a lot of it had to do with the type of input that was made. So they'll have little questionnaires. And I actually think it's very hard for someone to write a good bio based upon your written answers to these questionnaires. So, you know, I think it's beneficial to try to find someone who will actually do a phone interview with you. Your personality is not going to show through the same way in written word as it's going to in what you say. You're going to say a lot more when you're doing it on the phone. And a good writer is going to be able to pick and choose from what you said and include things and incorporate them into that bio. Okay. So yeah, when I used Fiverr, a lot of times the bio writers would have incorrect terminology or they'd be super buyer or seller heavy. My bio needs to appeal to every type of client, right? So buyer, seller, investor. Can no one see the screen anymore? That's okay. I'll wait till I have something to show you. Sometimes, you know, someone that knows you well can write a pretty good draft. I would still use a professional writer for the editing aspect of it. Okay, so again, this is something that's going to live in a long time. It's going to morph and change as you progress in your career and you have, you know, more credentials and time backing you. A couple of pitfalls within bio writing, like I said already, being too buyer or seller heavy. Putting time frames. Okay, so I have a bio that has the amount of years I've been in real estate. And it was the bane of my existence to have to change that on every single platform every year, but it was a lot of years, so it was worth it to me. Once I hit the 20-year mark, I can now say decades and I leave it alone and I'm very happy about that. But be cognizant of the things that might change in your bio over time, okay? You might even want a couple of versions of it, something very short, you know, snippet, and then your lengthy bio. You can use some cool tips and tricks. You can use quotes. Those of you who are new agents, you really need to find a way to tie in your past experiences and work with the skills that translate to real estate. Okay, so you might want to brainstorm with your mentor or another, you know, established agent in the office about that, and make sure that you're very honest and open with your bio writer. Hey, I'm a new agent. I don't have a whole lot to talk about as far as, you know, credentials and accolades or time in the business. I really want to focus on how my skills relate to the industry, right? So this is, you know, this is the person you're honest with. What is your motivation? What is your goal? Really direct this person, okay? And even professional writers do make mistakes. So ask some other people to take a look, you know? And if it doesn't feel good, it's not right. Okay, might feel like a little weird, like cringeworthy, like not so humble brag, but that's an okay not feeling good. But if it just doesn't, like if it doesn't resonate with you, it's not done yet. Okay. Positive also, right? So we don't, but there's a fine balance. I don't want to be warm and fluffy and everyone's happy at the end of all of my transactions. No, not everyone's happy, but I do a great job for my client. I'm really good at achieving their goals. And I try to make it as simple as possible for them while including them in all the decisions. Okay. On the flip side, I'm not going to go in and go kill the other side and take them down, right? I don't want to be too negative. I don't want to be too positive. I don't want to be soft and fluffy. I don't want to be hard and unapproachable. I want to be in between. I want to be confident and strong and trustworthy, right? So what do we need to get business? We need 3 things from clients. They need to like us, they need to trust us, and they need to think that we are capable. Okay, so everything that you do needs to project this. All right, so beyond a headshot and a profession, or a bio, what else do we need in a listing presentation? Well, we need a marketing plan. Okay, we need a marketing plan. And so for me, the way that I organize my listing presentation is, like I said, I have my base template I work off of, but my marketing plan is what I change almost every single time I go on a listing appointment. And that's because I have different plans in mind for different types of property, because I think it should be showcased in different ways. And also, the higher end it is, the higher budget I'm going to allow for my marketing. Okay. So as agents, we pay for, at a minimum, what? Property photos, any print materials, any mailings, any advertising, and broker caravan, all of that. And so as a business owner, this is your calculated risk, your expense in relation to the feasibility of selling this property. So again, not every listing is a good listing. I'm not going to take a listing at 8 million that I think is worth 5. First off, everyone's going to laugh behind my back, but secondly, I'm just going to waste my time and money. Okay. So, yeah.
Hey, so do you, because we're in a seller's market, do you notice that you spend less on marketing, or do you spend the same amount?
I spend less on marketing because my listings are on the market for like less than 6 days generally. Yeah. And honestly, you're going to find, unless you're in super high end, probably your biggest cost expense is going to be your time and gas going over for showings. Lots of showings. Right now in this market, we're lucky. We can hold an open house or 2 and we're done. So that does limit the cost. In any case, so what I want you to think about as far as a marketing plan is like, what is the bare minimum? What should we be doing on every single listing? Okay. And so if you don't have a listing presentation yet, you're going to start with these key pieces and develop them. If you need help with it from someone in the office, you can go to your mentor, you can come to me. If you're not in the program, you go to Mike Rosales or someone else that you really like and trust. Keep in mind, not every agent provides the same level of service. So you probably don't want to ask people whose business model you don't want to emulate, right? Don't ask just anyone, ask someone who, you want to model yourself after for success, someone that you think does a good job. So what are some of the considerations, some of the things I might add for a higher end listing? Maybe drone footage, especially if it's, an architectural home or something with grounds, views, things like that. I might do twilight shots, especially if there's a view. Especially if the interior of the home is much nicer than the exterior. Those nighttime shots with the lights can be quite charming in place. Floor plan drawing, perhaps. That's where I hire a company to go in and actually create the floor plans. And if I need them to for an additional charge, they'll give me square footage count in the case that we're not quite sure what the square footage is, so that we can take liability off myself and my client. I might be placing a broker caravan magazine ad that's much larger than my typical. Okay. Depending upon the type of property, I may, cater open house or brokers open. You can get creative too on a budget. So, for homes that I sell under about 1.5, if they're in a flat area, I will borrow and pay my friends 2 adorable children to man a little lemonade stand out front and hand out water and lemonade. And it does me quite well. One of the other things that I always do, no matter what the price of the listing is, if I have enough time, because this is really time sensitive, is I will order door hangers as invitations to my open house. I generally have, for my first open weekend, open Saturday and Sunday. I have them delivered to 500 to 1,000 of the closest neighbors, depending upon the listing. And my open houses are crazy off the hook, and I need more sellers than I typically would, because then the curious neighbors are going to come in that aren't necessarily buyers, but potential sellers, right? Sometimes it turns into, they tell their friend or family that wants to live close by, can turn into a buyer as well. And I mean, you can get as creative as you want with things. As a new agent, you have to be a little more creative because it's a pretty costly business to get started in. Trying to think. So yeah, I would, before you finalize your marketing plan, I'd go around to several agents that you want to emulate and ask them if they'd be willing to share a copy of their marketing plan with you, and kind of work from that. You don't have to recreate the wheel. And one of the great things about our office is that it's so collaborative. I would be pretty surprised if people weren't willing to share with you, and you might get some ideas that you wouldn't otherwise come up with, or I might not come up with. All right, so what else goes into listing presentation? Arguably the most important piece of listing presentation.
Comps.
Yeah, CMA, comparative market analysis, or comps. So you can do it one of two ways. You can pull comps and build it into your listing presentation as part of it, or you can pull a comparative market analysis, and that is its own report, and stick it in there. I tend to separate them, but that's just because of the way I kind of operate with the way I present things. And I'll tell you why I do that well, I can just tell you now. I like to discuss after I do this massive, connection and tour of the home and kind of get a better idea of value in my mind. The very first thing I want to discuss with my potential sellers is pricing. Very first thing. As long as I feel like they like me. If I don't feel like I've had a warm reception, I might launch into my listing presentation first. So yeah, arguably the most important is CMA. And for CMA, I teach a whole CMA class, but a real CMA, you're calling everything that's listed that is potentially a comparable, everything that's under contract, anything that's been withdrawn or expired. You're finding out what the story is if something sold at a number that looks abnormally high or low. If you're having trouble finding comps, you might need to contact title to get records of off-market sales, although that's pretty tough because you won't see photos, so you can't really compare the quality, only the statistics, which, as we know, property records isn't always accurate, right? So yeah, CMA is arguably the most important part, but that is the one piece that's going to change every single time. And that is the very first thing I work on when I know that I'm going to have an opportunity at a listing presentation. And again, a million different ways to do it. So what else as far as listing presentation? Well, we can actually look at the KW command. The KW command template. And I'll show you what I mean. I trash, no joke, like 80% of what's in there, maybe. And the reason, there's a couple of reasons for that. I think a lot of it's redundant. I love our company, but I'm there to sell myself, not them, or their services. And I find that a lot of information in our templates, is about KW services, which is great. I might pull and pluck some of those and include them if I feel like it's relevant for my client. Or it might be something that I send in a follow-up. And the other thing is I don't think listing presentation packages should be huge, and your CMA is already going to be pretty intensive because you need to include photos and all of that. So I doubt you're going to have anyone's attention, for a solid 2 hours if you're trying to go through every page of an 80-page listing presentation, right? You need to be able to say what you want to say and project in a very concise and pretty, an attractive way. All right, so if you go into KW command, you'd come down to designs. No, you guys can't see the screen, huh? Let me get that projected. Can you guys at home see the screen? No, right?
No.
No.
No, we can't.
Okay. Let's see. And now?
Yep, now it's it.
Good. Thank you. How do I get rid of this? Hide. Sorry, I'm having issues. Okay, let's try that. All right, so now we can't see that. So we go into designs and you go to the top right corner, create design, and select print. You can email from this, you can download a PDF and deliver it electronically if you wanted to. That's up to you. A lot of, well, I don't know if a lot of, in the past, I've seen a lot of KW instructors really heavy on pre-listing presentation and sending stuff ahead of time. I am not a fan of that. I really want to present the information in a way that I want to with the sellers. And I'm probably going to make adjustments to what I say based upon what I've learned and what I've seen from the time I stepped my foot into the house. So over here, you'd go over to listings and you would select listing presentation.
So sorry, import design can create.
Create design.
Okay.
Yeah, create design. Create design, print, listings, listing presentation. And so most of these have, you know, pretty much the same information in them, but not all of them do. So I'd highly recommend looking at them, looking at all of them, seeing what you like, what you don't like about them, steal from it. Don't recreate the wheel. Some of the stuff's not accurate. Make sure you check every word, everything that's said in there, right? This is arguably the most important piece of print you're going to ever have as a real estate agent. So this should be really the focus of perfect, you know, like getting this as perfect as possible. And like I said, it will change over time. Oh, a couple of things I forgot. One of the things I really like to include in my listing presentations that wouldn't be in a template is referrals from past clients or testimonials. And as a new agent, that might be kind of tough, but you can use referrals from current clients. You can use referrals from other real estate agents. You can use referrals even from your past business, although I'd be very careful about how you coach the person that you are telling this potential client can contact about what they say, right? And sometimes marketing materials of my past sales, and sometimes a list of past sales. Although again, as a new agent, if you don't have a long, impressive list, it should not be in that presentation. I don't think anyone's going to think about it. I don't think anyone's going to ask about it, but they're definitely going to look at it if it's in there, right? So anything that doesn't promote you, isn't impressive, don't put it in there, right? All right, so I'll just pull this one up. I have no idea what I'm doing over here. Okay, so 29 pages. Okay, so the first two obviously are just instructions. You've got, you know, your cover page. I'm guessing this is like a not glossary, table of contents. Do you need a table of contents? Probably not. You know, the subject property, you probably aren't going to have a great photo of the subject property. Okay. Probably aren't. And if you did, it's because you stalked the house and that seems a little weird. So I definitely have information about the subject property that I'm evaluating in my comparative market analysis, but I take it out of my listing presentation here. I've already said what the address is on my main title page, and I don't have these pretty photos. And my specs could be wrong, right? My specs could be wrong because I'm going based off of property records and or what my client or my potential client told me. All right, so then we have this neighborhood snapshot thing, and I think it's a plugin from Kelly. I think you can plug in from KW Command now. Not gonna lie, I've been shown how to do it twice. I don't remember how. And the reason I don't remember how is because I don't use it because it doesn't follow the same parameters as our MLS areas. And so if I use information using different criteria, it's gonna contradict the information in my comparative market analysis, right? So until the KW system uses the exact parameters of the MLS outline for areas, I'm not touching it because my information is gonna be contradictory. And that doesn't convey, confidence, right? So I take this out entirely. You could instead, if you wanted to, like if you're really heavy trying to specialize in a neighborhood, you could, put together a neighborhood snapshot page of your own. That could be a great idea. But yeah, I wouldn't use the information in here until something changes. Then comparable properties. So it has, at least a placeholder in here for you to remember to insert CMA. Although I don't like I said, having CMA in my listing presentation. And even if I did, it'd probably be either at the very beginning or the very end. Okay, we've got some warm and fuzzy stuff. I'm not opposed to a little bit warm and fuzzy. Just make sure it resonates with you, the language that's on there. Here. Oops, sorry. Let's try that. I'm also very pragmatic. So when I read words like visualize your dream scenario for selling your home, I don't like words like dream. I'm a professional, I'm a business person. That's just my identity, right? Everyone has their own identity. So just because I don't like it doesn't mean it doesn't work for you. But I don't just blindly use what's already written here because this does not project who I am. Also, I don't want my clients to really start dreaming and telling me they're going to get 8 million for their house instead of 5. So for me, it's just, I don't like this word. Nice. Enjoy your dreams. So back to the CMA. So yeah, keep in mind things like that. It needs to resonate with you and think about how those words are perceived by your clients. Transaction timeline, the process. Okay, so I've recently in the last couple of months taught a class on the buyer side process and listing side process. I believe those recorded classes are on YouTube. I'm pretty sure they are. You'll probably want to check those out. But this is, I think, a fantastic tool. However, it is wildly inaccurate. Do not use anything that's written on here. Okay. Like establish a competitive price. That has to be done prior to signing the listing agreement, right? You might not launch a coming soon marketing campaign. You might be just listing the property. We don't use attorneys here, right? So someone not from California wrote this. And you've got to keep that in mind. KW is a national company, so a lot of our materials and curriculum is national. Okay, negotiate contract, go under contract, facilitate inspection process, negotiate any issues, oversee appraisal, coordinate and prepare for further inspections. Like that doesn't necessarily need to be in there. There aren't always further inspections. Some of these things here happen kind of simultaneously, so I'm not in love with the order. Final walkthrough and close. There's no mention of escrow or what the buyer is supposed to be doing either, like, earnest money deposit or what's something else, open houses, it goes into just launch just listed marketing campaign. you know, I think I would put open houses and showings in here. So just modify it, but also keep in mind again, that just because it's here doesn't mean it's accurate, doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be edited. And definitely take the word attorney out. So your custom marketing plan, again, this is just, you know, a filler for you. You should put in a custom marketing plan. And again, remember, it's going to change with each property and with your comfort level. Finding your buyer. This just tells sellers where buyers come from. You know, that a real estate agent introduced them, or mostly the internet, and then a few other little tiny things. This can be helpful when you have a seller who's insisting on really expensive, like LA Times ads and things like that. This might help you. You know, I might say to a seller in that instance, hey, I understand. However, you can see that, you know, from the statistics here that very little business can be obtained that way. And while I'm fine to spend the money, you know, it's $2,500. I think we can take that $2,500 and we can better, you know, put it to use by getting you more coverage on the internet, you know, online coverage. So best in class promotional assets. You want to be careful here because it talks about things like flyers, which it misspells, right? Flyers is with a Y. So I even find spelling errors in here. Lead optimized landing pages. Are you going to give this to your clients? Not necessarily. So be careful again of the content in here. You're going to want to remove quite a bit of this or alter it heavily. Okay, your media plan. Again, this is all part of marketing plan and they have it broken down into several parts. So take a look at it, decide what you want to do, consult with some agents. You don't need more than one page about this. You know, you don't need more than one page about what your marketing plan is. If you want to include examples or information, additional information about some of the things you mentioned in your marketing plan, I think it can follow it. You know, so I have the good fortune, one of my very good girlfriends, her husband is, you know, considered one of the, you know, top maybe 3 photographers for homes in Los Angeles. And he shoots my properties super cheap. I'm very lucky. And so I, you know, I will promote him as part of my marketing plan, you know, his website, a couple of links to videos and sometimes photos or flyers or what are they called? Brochures from past listings he's shot for me. Hopefully there's something in here about staging. There used to be tons of stuff about staging in here and it might be just the random template that I chose. So I do think that it is advantageous to include something about staging in your listing presentations as well. You may or may not need to discuss it. You'll make that assessment after you tour the home, right? So when we're done looking at this template, we're going to talk about what happens the day of your listing presentation and at your appointment. And a couple of things to keep in mind. And one of them will be, you know, do I bring up staging? Do I bring up repairs? But this is more, again, more marketing stuff, more marketing plan stuff. Open house strategy, I mean, is if on your marketing plan, you're saying you're doing certain special things at an open house, you've already said it. Again, it's just redundant pages of the same thing. If you have something really spectacular to showcase that you can make visually represent well, go ahead and add it as part of your follow-up in the marketing plan, but try to keep it all concise on one page. This is my plan. And then here are some examples of what I just talked about. So it's in the details. Okay, I think it's leading into the staging part now. So it talks about eye-catching yard signs. Like I wouldn't put that in there. No, the seller doesn't care that my yard sign is nice looking. They'd only care if it's obnoxious and terrible looking, right? And since I designed them and paid for them, I don't think they're obnoxious and terrible looking, at least I hope not. Talks about KWLS and the Keller Williams listing system. I had a client once say to me, what is that? I can't Google it. So I took it out and I've never used it since. I do know what it is, but is this a market leader as far as where buyers look for properties? No. They Google, it's all SEO and what's coming up. Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, and what's the other one?
Redfin.
Redfin, yeah. Yeah, so I take it out. Again, it talks about things that should be covered in the marketing plan, like photography. So just go through. You can also ask the marketing department for copies of other agents' listing presentations. The ones that I've given permission, they'll give you copies of, and you can kind of take a look at them and see the different ideas for inspiration. But again, keep in mind, a lot of agents like myself, they'll have a base template, but there are things I always add in, like my marketing plan's not in my base template, or it is, but it's like a shell of what it ends up being by the time I'm done. Real experience, real expertise. So these are some statistics on the agent themselves. Again, if you don't have big numbers to put up here, I wouldn't put them in. Now, if you're a mentee, you have the good fortune of being able to leverage your mentor / partner's statistics here, right? So if that's the case, after you get your listing presentation done and ready, what should you do? You might want to create one that you're going to use just during the time that you work with your mentor. Just modify the one that you've made for yourself so that you can include those things. Of course, you'll have to work with your mentor, make sure you give them enough time for this, don't spring it on them, and they have to be comfortable with it. But you know, that's part of the perks of the program. I do require them to allow you to use their credibility. Obviously, they have to be aware of it, and they should be at your meeting as well. So they probably should be in your listing presentation. Again, more statistics. I don't think that you need more than one page to prove that you're a badass real estate agent, or that your mentor is. We all start somewhere, it's okay. Credentials and awards, you know, you may or may not have something to put here. So you might have something that's impressive, but not from real estate. That's okay to include here. It's just define what's truly impressive. Ask the people in your life who love you, who aren't afraid to tell you like it is that something that I should include in here if it's not real estate related, okay? We all have that person. Ask that person. If you even want to use this page. Okay, so this is a page with the Keller Williams motto, which I actually kind of like. It's just feel-good stuff. So if you want to use feel-good stuff, just keep it to a minimum, one to 2 pages per an entire listing presentation. Okay. Past sales, again, you know, you may or may not have this. If you have a mentor, you can ask them to use theirs. I think there's just tons more of this, so I'm going to go through. It has a place for testimonials, like I told you about, or references, referrals, right? You can include all of those 3 things. So the way that I used to format it was I just had a reference list, my clients' names and numbers, and an excerpt explaining to my clients that I've obtained permission from these past clients to provide their contact information, and that they will not be surprised if they're reached out to and asked about me. But over time, after I got more and more testimonials, there are some clients who give me like the best little snippets, best little comments. And so I'd put a little snippet from their testimonial, and then I'd put their name and then their telephone number next to it. And it was much prettier. I could use script. I got a lot more creative with it. So, we're just talking about the input, the informational stuff, because if I sat here with the design stuff with you, we'd be here for 3 days, and I'm terrible at it to begin with. I'm always like, marketing department, can you help me make it look prettier? I'm like, this is what I want. This is my information. Make it pretty, please. So testimonial section. Okay, more feel-good stuff. You know, this is, I'm going to be a good agent for you. Again, read through it, decide if you want anything like that, but no more than 1 to 2 fluff pieces in a listing presentation. Selling safely, you know, this was much more relevant 6 months ago, 12 months ago. We can do virtual showings, right? Like right now, I'm including still Matterport tours as part of my marketing plan for listings, no matter the size, because the pandemic is still going on. But you know, you may or may not want to put this in here. You might not want to draw a seller's attention to all the people that are going to be in their house touching their stuff. The bottom line, let's see here. So this is more like fluff stuff. And there, I guess there's nothing in here about staging, but if you look at some of the other templates, it's really, really heavy. And it's not just staging, it's staging like with KW Staging Company, right? This is your listing presentation. You put it together how you want with your service providers. Don't just, you know, use whoever. This is the Kelly app, the My app. Again, like it goes through the neighborhoods. Remember, I told you MLS outlines and neighborhoods are different. I don't promote the Kelly app at all. I've had major glitches with it on every phone I've ever had. And just for that, the simple reason of the MLS area being different, I would never risk using any information from there. Unless it was for like, you know, maybe social media marketing, something general. They have a lot of cute graphics and snapshots that you can use for marketing pieces outside of listing presentation. So there is value with the Kelly app, just I don't see it helping my cause in a listing presentation because I have, you know, information that is very similar that I have to go over, but going to be different. A contact page, very important. So you also might want to include a page about recommended upgrades and repair and/or repairs. That's up to you. Or you might want to have like a page ready for that in case you feel the need to pop it in. You know, I do actually stock my listings before I have a listing presentation. I'm going to stop the share now because we're at the last page here. Because if it looks, you know, beat up from the outside, I'm probably going to include some recommendations for, you know, repair, cosmetic stuff, minor. I don't go into major unless I absolutely have to. Most sellers do not want to put a lot of money into their home in order to sell. And they shouldn't if it is design related, because a buyer is going to want it their way. And if a seller remodels something and spends money on it, it doesn't necessarily translate that they will get that amount or higher back. Sometimes it will be less. Maybe it was done in a less than like mainstream popular finish. So I discourage my clients from doing anything other than really deep cleaning, getting rid of problems and issues, decluttering, painting. You know, if we need a major repair done, we'll do a major repair. But otherwise, I'm not encouraging my clients to do major work. I had a client who did it once anyway and painted his entire house like inside like a blue color like this. I made him paint it back to white. But I was like, didn't we talk about whites, really neutral, like grays? And he was like, yeah, but it looks so nice. I kind of, you know, he's like, I thought everyone else would like it. I'm like, you're trying to sell it to everyone else, not yourself. I told you what to do. Let's do that now. So yeah, don't encourage sellers to just go do work. All right, so 1 second. Hi. I'm good. Okay, thanks. Bye. All right. So day of listing presentation. So I don't care who you are or how long you've been doing this. I've been doing this a very long time. I am fortunate enough to be in my career for a long time where a lot of my business is referral. So I had this, you know, the beginning of my career was a little rough. I had a lot of nervousness. The middle of my career was probably my best stride where, you know, I still had a good mix of new clients and referral clients, but it was getting a little bit easier. And now I'm kind of in this good for me phase, but when I actually have a lead, a cold lead that I don't know, now I'm super nervous because I don't do that very often anymore, right? So it happens to all of us. Yeah.
Oh, no,
Oh.
no, just, nothing.
It happens to all of us. So what do I do to balance that? Well, first off, I try to control what I can. Okay. So I don't set early morning listing appointments unless I absolutely have to. Why? I do wake up early, but I'm not a morning person. I ease into my day. That's my personal time, the time no one else can touch or fuck up. Okay. No one else can take that. If you call me before 8:30, we are not friends. Okay. If it's not really important, why are you doing that? Email me, right? So I don't set appointments for, if I can before 11, 10 at the earliest if I had to. I prefer like a 10 to 2 kind of window, or I'm happy to do it on the weekends. If 10 to 2 doesn't work, because a lot of our sellers are working professionals, happy to do it on the weekend. So I control the time to make sure that it is an optimal time for the way my brain functions. I make sure that the evening before, I've double checked all of my materials. I've packed my bags. if I'm taking visual tools like my laptop, so I can scroll through CMA photos and, zoom in and show sellers things. Very, very effective tool, by the way, when they're trying to, when you're trying to help them see why their home is not worth as much as the brand new construction across the street. Yeah, so I have my outfit laid out. I've tried it on. I've made sure there are no holes. I try to get to bed fairly early. I set myself up for success. And then depending upon what time it is, if I feel nervous in the morning, I usually work out in the evenings, but I'll do a quick workout in the morning. I'll maybe skip my coffee or have like a half amount of coffee. I have a really cheesy playlist that I play on my way over to listing appointments. I want to arrive about 10 minutes early, although I'm going to sit in my car for 8 of those 10 minutes because nobody likes someone who's more than 5 minutes early. And if you can be right on time, even better. Maybe I try to get there even earlier because remember, I kind of know the property I'm going to, right? I've stalked it. Maybe parking is really rough. Okay. Parking can be really rough. I've had a few speeding tickets trying to get to my appointments on time. Thank you, West Hollywood PD. What am I wearing? I'm wearing something conservative. I'm definitely not wearing the same thing to a $10 million listing appointment as I am to a 1 or 2, right? You don't want your clients to feel like they can't connect with you, right? They want to feel like you're their peers, that you represent their interest, because you're representing the interest in one of the most important decisions they ever make. One of the most important sales they ever make with one of the highest value assets they will ever own, right? So they need to connect with you. They need to think that they resonate with you, and they need to feel respected, but at the same time, they don't want to feel intimidated, right? So yes.
Good. Is navy blue a good color to wear on the listing presentation?
Yeah, navy, black, white, gray. I don't think color, especially in SoCal, is such a big deal unless you're wearing like lime green, right? But conservative is always better, right? I mean, you can be stylish and conservative, but I try to keep it simple, right? So I'll wear a long pencil skirt or I'll wear slacks. Women drive real estate sales for the most part under $5 million. The girls are covered up. Okay, nothing is above my knee. Okay, while I might want to wear heels because I feel sexy and powerful in them, and that's how I want to feel during that appointment, I am going to be running around their house, and hopefully if it's a single family, I'm going in their yard and stuff. So I've had heels stuck in the mud. Learn from my mistake. Don't do the same thing. If you're going to wear heels, wear wedges and little ones. Be prepared to, have dogs, animals, cats, all around you. So as a real estate agent, you're going in other people's homes. If you have allergies to animals, keep some Zyrtec in your wallet, your purse, your car. Okay. Men, what are we wearing? Please don't wear tennis shoes for your listing appointment unless it's your friend or unless, it's a social media influencer that's really into sneakers, right? Sorry, let me close this. Yeah, wear dress shoes, wear some slacks. I think it's pretty acceptable to get away with black jeans and black dress shoes as well these days. Wear wear a simple dress shirt. Do you have to wear a tie or a jacket? No. Again, you don't want to be austere. You don't want to be so much more dressed up than your clients. You want them to see themselves in you a little bit, right? You're the representative. So just conservative, simple. You're not there to show yourself off. Of course, you want to be clean, pressed, attractive, you know, likable. You're there to showcase your skill. And this appointment is about them and their home, not about you, right? Okay. So I get there, like I said, I'm sitting in the car for that 8 minutes. I go up to the door. I'm ready for kids and animals to jump on me with a big ass smile on my face. I do like both, so that makes it easier. And, you know, exchange pleasantries. Of course, I have, so there's also like confirming your listing appointment, right? I didn't do that the night before. I didn't do that first thing in the morning. What I did was when I left my house, I texted and said, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm on my way and I'm on time. I'll see you soon. Right? I don't want to give them the opportunity to reschedule or back out. I'm already on my way. Who's going to call me or text me and cancel at that point? A really big jerk who probably wasn't serious to begin with, right? Or if they totally forgot, I think I just scored some, you know, guilt points at least. So that's another thing I do. So back to arriving, I get there to the front door, exchange pleasantries. One of the very first things I do after I compliment, say hello, exchange some compliments. I'm going to take my things, kind of look around, ask where I can set them down, but really I'm not asking. I'm already moving towards where I want to set my presentation up. And they're going to go along with that as long as you kind of time it delicately. And why do I do this? I really want to control where I give my presentation because I want to be able to easily have eye contact with all the decision makers. I want to easily be able to share information on a screen or printed. Speaking of which, I bring enough printed copies for everyone I'll be meeting with so that everyone can look at the same information at the same time. So I generally want this meeting, if I can, to be at a dining room table so I can sit across from everyone. There's enough seating space. Most people, when they bring you into their home, they bring you into the living room, right? To like lounge and relax. You have a big coffee table. You can't reach over. You can't share things easily. So I really try to direct that meeting to a place where we can have a more formal type of interaction and where, you know, sight lines are a lot easier. Okay, so then I go into, this is by far the most important part of the actual presentation. I asked for a tour of the home. And it's not a fast tour. And I want to know why they bought it, what they like about it, what they didn't like about it, what it made them choose this home. You know, what did they do here? You know, you can comment on things that you like. We're not talking about anything we don't like at this point. Okay. You know, oh, did you make any changes here? Tell me about the neighborhood. How did you and your husband meet? You know, where do your kids go to school? Your potential client is going to tell you everything you need to know about how to win them over in that conversation. This is not about you. This is all about them. Who are you? What are you? What do you like? What are your values? What are your ideals? How do you feel about your home and why? Right? This is what I need to know. Also, during this time, I have a CMA, but I've never seen the interior of a home, and the condition of the interior can dramatically affect what my assessment of the value is, right? So I never have a written dollar amount down in my CMA. Okay. I never do unless I've been there already. I've seen the inside because that could vary. Sometimes $100,000, sometimes $200,000, maybe more depending upon, you know, price point. Sometimes only 50, but 50 is a lot for a seller, right? So I don't have my price range down there, and I am, while trying to listen and engage with the seller and get to know their home, I am also reassessing my number in my head constantly. Because by the time I sit down, I need to have that number down, right? I have to have that number. And I could still have a slight range, that's okay. A range is okay, especially depending upon the type of the property and the comps that you have available to you. So now I know everything about them, who they are, how they like to be spoken to, how they feel, why they want to sell, what their future plans are, all of that, right? So now I get to sit down and I'm going to go through if it was a good, if the meeting's gone well thus far. I am probably going to go into comparative market analysis, but I'm not going to start with the numbers. I'm going to start with, you know, what's sold in the area. They probably know about it. I'm going to showcase the work I've done, like all of the notes I have on my CMA from, you know, the agents that I spoke to, the stuff that you can't tell by looking at the MLS. And then I'm going to go into what's currently listed, okay, which I don't think should be part of CMA. So I have two parts to my CMA, the actual CMA, which is just solds, and then my competition, which is relevant, but until it closes, you know, something that's listed at 1 million could sell for 1.5, vice versa. List price is not indicative of sales price, but I will talk about competition. So I'll show them that as well, and go over those sales prices and numbers with them, because what am I doing? I'm softly setting them up for the delivery of my number. And I've been fortunate enough to have really great, mostly realistic clients as sellers, not all of them, but mostly. But they all still want as much as they can get. Some of them are off their rocker. Some of them are ecstatic. Sometimes you'll have the great occasion of them being like, wow, my house is really worth that much. But it's more often a little more towards this side. So I'm setting them up, not by telling them what to think, but by showing them first. And then I tell them. And I ask them how they feel about that number. They'll generally tell you after you give them your assessment of value. But if they don't, ask them, draw them out. Because if they're having a negative reaction to your assessment of the value, you can still salvage that. Well, what number did you have in mind? And what made you think that, you know, maybe there are some things that we can do. We can work together as a team to get you to a higher price point. Are you willing to do a little work? If we are cost effective and smart about it, perhaps we can get you a little bit more if we work on some things. And then at that point, I might call out a few minor things I've seen in the home that I think would help it to sell at a higher price. And we can talk a little bit about staging as well. If at the end of that conversation, it doesn't go well, I'm very brief with the rest of my listing presentation, because they don't care what I have to say about selling their home. If I don't convince them to sell it at a reasonable number, or they're not, if they're not happy with the number, they don't care what I can do, right? They don't care what I can do. I still go through it. I'm still pleasant. And, you know, I always tell them, hey, you know, we can keep an eye on the market. There are things we can do. I would love to get that number for you. Sales comps just don't support it at this point in time. You know, if they tell me, oh, well, someone told me I could, that often comes up. Some other agent told me I could. You know, I really hope that they can. I want that for you. At the same time, you know, I'm around. And if for some reason that doesn't work out or it doesn't sell at that number, you know, it'd be really great. I'd really appreciate it if you gave me a crack at it, a shot at selling your home for you. Because, you know, I gave you my honest assessment of the property's value. Yes.
In that situation, you could also say that you market at the price that you think and you're waiting for higher offers. That's also a sales strategy, right? You
mean listing under market value?
No, that in their eyes, it's under the value, right?
Yeah.
If they are not happy with the number. So you could say, let's list it at, if they agree, at this price, and we want to get higher offers.
You can't guarantee that. You cannot say that. You can't guarantee it. What you can say is something along the lines of, it might be advantageous to underprice if you're looking for a higher number so that we can get more exposure, hopefully more offers. Generally speaking, the best way to get a higher price is to have a lot of competition and tons of multiple offers. So be a little bit more careful. Yes?
What I was going to ask is that, so you're saying if they want a certain price that you don't think is like it's too much, then you won't take it?
It depends. If it's overpriced within a reasonable, like this is your own business, right? If someone wants to list a $800,000 condo for $875,000, will I do it? Yeah. Someone wants to list a $1.5 million house for 1.7, will I do it? Yeah. That's
1.5?
1.5 to 1.7? Yeah. But again, someone wants to list an $800,000 condo, in my opinion, for 1.2, 1.3. I'm not touching it. There's no point. Yes.
If it's like questionably high where you're uncertain, could you do a thing where, okay, we can try it, let's see how it does in 3 weeks, and then we can sit back down if it doesn't sell to reposition the price?
You can definitely do that with your seller. However, it doesn't mean that they will actually do it as you agreed to prior.
Okay.
In fact, most of the time I find that even the people who do it eventually don't always do it right when they say they're going to. Yeah. And a lot of times in that situation, I'll say, hey, you know what? Can I try shopping it off market at that price for you? Can I, can we make it a pocket listing for a little while? And we'll prepare, in the meantime, I'll get photos done. We'll prepare for market and see what happens, And then I can also kind of shop it around to the other agents in my office, not just to try to sell it, but to get their feedback on the numbers. And I can share that written feedback with my sellers, and it helps my case if I'm trying to get the price down prior to actually launching on the MLS. Okay. So I've gone through my CMA. That went well. We're close on the number. Great. Go through the listing presentation minorly, right? I'm touching on certain points. I'm really focusing on not stuff like my bio. I'm focusing on what I can do for them. My marketing plan, I'm focusing, one of the things I really like to point out is if I have those testimonials and references, please feel free to contact my past clients. Any examples I chose to put in there specifically because I thought it would resonate with these sellers or was similar to the home that I'm potentially going to sell. I'll point out to that. I kind of skim through it and point out highlights. I also bring with me a blank copy of the listing contract. I know every agent's different. Some are a lot more aggressive. They want to try to get it signed right there. I don't try to do that. It's not my style. It doesn't mean that it won't work for you. I do ask for the business. Okay. Before I leave, I ask for the business. It's not quite the same as having a signed listing agreement, but someone who doesn't want to sell or is not comfortable who signs a listing agreement with you there is going to wiggle out of it anyways with you. You're going to have problems. And I think you might often find that you're going to, if you wrote a listing agreement at your appointment, it's probably going to be heavily altered or amended, modified prior to the time you list. But I do ask for that business. If you want to bring a copy and try to get it signed, more power to you. If you get it signed, amazing. I leave them a blank copy and I say, hey, so the next step would be to talk about, if they have repair work, getting a timeline together. Can I help schedule? Can I give you some referrals? Based upon whatever completion dates we have for any of that work, if any of it needs to be done at all, or staging, then I can, set photography appointments. And I'll talk to them about, putting a timeline together for them once we know when they can get some work started. And yeah, I leave that listing agreement. I say, hey, so this is what we'll be signing. I'll go over it with you in detail prior to you signing it. We'll actually, before I complete it, we'll complete it pretty much together. I'll ask you all of the questions, the things that are optional, the things that you might need to consider and talk about before I send it over for your signature. Right. So yeah, ask for the business, say thank you. And then what's a nice little touch? I don't get too crazy. I don't send anything, but I like to send a handwritten thank you note, whether or not I got the listing. And I do it the first thing when I get home in the mail in a pretty envelope. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I do. Again, everyone has a different method, but there are some similarities and some things that are always going to be the same and matter. It's just, the extra stuff and your personal touch to it and making sure it resonates with you and it's representative of you. And more importantly, that the information is accurate and good information. Okay. Thanks, guys. Any questions? I can take a pause. Thank you.
Very, very good.
Hey, Kristen.
Yeah, Aiden, give me 1 second. I have a question in the office here.
Sure thing.
Speak up with questions, really loud.
What paper would you recommend to print
What paper? I mean, the nicer the paper is. I like really thick paper. I'm of substance, right? I'm this tiny thing, but I want to be a big girl. I like thick stuff, but that's my personal preference. Whatever makes sense for you. Thicker paper can be really expensive at the same time. So keep in mind, depending upon the type of leads you have, it might not always be the best investment. if your listing presentation is a small package, you know, I'd be more inclined to use expensive paper than if I had a really big package. But remember, your CMA is going to be like anywhere between what, 20 and 60 pages. So if you're going to include your CMA on the same paper, it's going to be a lot of paper. But yeah, if you can afford it, if you have the time, if you have the energy to run over to that goddamn copier and put it in the bypass tray, more power to you. Do it on nice paper. Aiden, what was your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, where's the best, I guess I'm looking to outsource the photography work to my brother if he can produce the results I'm looking for. And I just want to know what, like, how can I understand how to arrive at a price that's, you know, fair? Should I just ask other agents in the office what their experiences with those prices?
Yeah, absolutely. Is your brother a professional photographer that specializes in architectural photography?
Not specific.
I love my brother too, but you need to think about what is best for you.
With a lot of experience in a myriad.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think that thing that you said about going with the listing agreement and leaving it to the buyer, like to the seller if it's possible, it has worked for me nowadays. I didn't do that at the beginning. I was just kind of like, you know, uncomfortable, but now I feel like things are responding more to you because you're actually committed and giving more information that you're supposed to, you know.
Yeah. Yes, Richard.
This blank listing agreement, is that just to encourage the seller to read it?
Yeah, read it if they have any questions. And, you know, I also like to show that I'm prepared, but I'm not pushy. It's just part of my, like, my whole vibe is like, I'm competent and I'm confident. I'm not going to push you for the business. I'm going to ask for it. Think about it. You know, I want you to just choose me because you think I'm going to best represent you. That's just my style. And yes, I think putting that there and purposely not asking for a signature kind of cements that. Any more questions, guys? Nope. Okay. Well, then I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I will see you next week.
We're being to see this on their Zoom, right?
What's that?
We're to see this on